So you may not know, but Peter Jackson had produced yet another movie that's coming out this holiday. It's called Mortal Engines, and it has a lot of crazy things going on during the movie. I simply want to talk about the crazy engineering things going on in this movie. And be careful, spoilers ahead. So in short, this movie's premise is Mad Max Fury Road, but with houses. That's basically it. The whole world was on fire after some wars were fought with some quantum weapon, which are totally not nuclear missiles. No, don't even tell me the symbols are similar, like the ones with the radiation. And since all the civil engineers are probably dead, resources were not properly managed and cities were put on wheels, so they go around and hunt smaller cities for resources. Instead of, getting the resource from just your environment, getting it the normal way. You have London, but you shrunk it and put it on wheels so you can run around. So where are the engineering in all this jazz? Well, it's everywhere, and allow me to break it down. In order to support the weight of London, and when I say London, I meant Zone 1 probably. Instead of moving along like massive trucks, it's more like tanks with continuous track in the propulsion systems. This makes a lot of sense, since London is basically racking its way through Europe at this point in the story, and the advantage of tracks, which are great mobility through tough terrains, really shines through when they try to destroy the livelihood of other smaller towns. So it's like the reverse Brexit. So from what I can still remember from the movie, the engines are basically like the heart of the city. And here on the left you can see a very accurate recreation of what it's like. And there's only one engine in the center towards the front. So after the combustion process happens, which is a very cool visual by the way in the movie, the power generated are transmitted across blocks to the wheels underneath, and then the wheels drive the track. It's fine if you transmit power like that in a car, but in this case you have to have some really strong and durable material to be able to transmit enough torque to drive a whole city block. And if you have those materials on hand, then just use it to trade, It will be a great asset in any sort of economy. How are these bad boys controlled? Just like in all the science fiction movies, there is a bridge crew, and there were a lot of levers and dials. It could have just been buttons, but it's like a mixture of the future setting with a bit of throwback. So speaking of destroying people's memories and livelihood, all the cities that were swallowed have their residents removed, vacated, and the buildings and all materials shredded. And it seems like they were crushed and burnt right away. I couldn't really see any fuel storage facilities anywhere close to the engine, and there were a shot of the combustion chambers. So my best guess is that there isn't really any fuel storage cells, which is bonkers. I doubt a little town they swallow is gonna last for more than a week, and they do mention it in the movie. In World War I, the early days of tanks, the suspension systems typically break down before the tanks even get into action. This problem was solved by changing the force applied from vertical to horizontal, using the vectors to cheekily get around the problems. But in cars, the weight they carry is a lot lighter, so the suspension systems are more upright. But I honestly have no clue how the suspension system is going to hold a whole fucking city block together. Do London just stop in the evening so people can sleep? But maybe that's the case, because that will also save some fuel. On a city that's constantly on the move, no matter how good your suspension system is, the buildings will have to experience some sort of shaking, and it's hard to predict. So this is like buildings in areas that are constantly experiencing earthquakes. And all buildings will need to be built with this thought in mind. So it's really amazing how they keep the same sort of building but really changing its internal structures so that earthquakes cannot really affect them. But that's why it's in the future. You'll never know when you're going to experience an earthquake. And as someone who's currently doing a group project on energy systems, I have a vlog on that by the way, just go a few videos back. I do have so much respect for the person that's designing the whole energy system of the city block. Of the city car? Heating should not be a problem at this moment because of how much energy and excess heat we'll be generating simply due to the sheer size of the thing. But the cooling will be a massive problem. With that amount of energy output, it should be unbearable in sections that's remotely close to the engine. And I haven't done the actual calculations, but I'm sure Film Theory might have already done it and it's just waiting to upload. But what about the energy generation for everybody to use? you can use some sort of coupling between the actual engine and some other further generation facilities so you can best utilize all the heat you've got. But I don't see any sort of solar panels or other factories, so maybe there must be some other generation facilities on board, or else it's just not possible. In parts of this messy movie, the main bad guy also visits a moving prison in the sea. However, contrary to Mr. Stark, who seems to be quite good at tying up hot girls, the people in this world like to have things moving constantly and also quite shaky. Hence, the prison looks like the thing I accurately recreated on the left. The prison is totally not a ripoff of AT-ATs. It's definitely not a four-legged machine designed to induce fear into the people. So now, when engineers design structures, we like to have a lot of redundancies in our system. Redundancies mean that there are always more supporting members of a structure than the critical amount. So if you have 4 legs, if you knock out one, you have 3, and it's not a guarantee that it's going to be a nice and balanced structure, or in this case a mechanism. So that's why we're always trying to find the safest and most conservative way of building things. But in this movie, it's taken down in one shot. It's literally taken down in one shot, and but if you have some structure that's really nice, really solid, it's not very cinematic. For those of you that have seen the trailers, you have seen scenes of planes flying in the sky. But despite movies about engines, we're actually getting into some turbine action. So there were some really nice designs with the sort of plane/gliders in the movie, and the turbines in those planes seems to be able to change its orientation to change the angle of attack of the plane and allow it to maneuver nicely. There was also a cloud city which people go to, and also the smoking and sparks are banned. But when some monster shows up, it's absolutely fine to pull out the gun and shoot the damn thing. Speaking of monsters, we're looking at another copy of the amazing portrayal of Doctor Doom in the 2015's greatest movie. When we look at it, you might not think this is some sort of feat of engineering, but it has got its fingerprints all over it. The guy, this thingy, he was a bioengineered cyborg with mostly metal parts replacing all the organic features, but he still keeps the skin intact, which kind of makes sense because most skin cells are already dead anyway, or very specialized that they're basically dead. And it's like knee implants, but you replace everything. But this guy is so cool looking, its bodily movement, its biomechanics is so badass. The robot zombie seems to have some sort of superpower when it comes to tracking down our main protagonist. And he knows exactly where the person he's hunting is and how to get there. In a post-modern world where most likely all the communication systems are knocked out without the network present, the ability to track someone across lands, over the seas, and even continents is really impressive. So you might think this is just a stupid movie, but the technology at display here is actually quite remarkable. So the overall notes: engineering is a crazy thing in this world despite the setting, and all the materials are either off the chart strong or just disobeying the laws of physics, really. London is also shaky in the literal sense and in the economical sense, but I hope nobody goes on strike. And the engines are so strong and so tough, you could have done so much more with those tech instead of using it to carry a dead load around long distances. And by the way, engineers are not evil. There's like a group of engineers called the Guild of Engineers that are basically the villains of the story. They're like the evil scientists, but we do learn about engineering ethics in our classrooms. So yeah, please trust us, we are not evil. And also, why is an archaeologist in charge of the whole city? They don't know shit. If you can, think about the engineering work going on in the movies when you watch them. And maybe you will chuckle a little bit when you see something that's crazy or just completely stupid. Like me. When I see something that's just not physically possible, I just lost it. It instantly takes me out of the movie and I don't even know how to deal with it. But overall, fiction is fiction. And maybe you can have some extra layer of fun by looking at the engineering of it. And I really want to try to bullshit my way through how all these technology might work by combining some sort of real world technology and provide some sort of insight into this bananas madness. And after the crazy talks about engineering, here are some other rants. So, The opening sequence of the movie is fucking amazing, but then everything was put on break after the male and female protagonists met. They spent what felt like an eternity bonding and developing their backstory and character, but none of them is actually interesting to begin with. The girl is your tough female fighter type who's relearning to open her heart again after some tragic past, and the guy is just useless, clueless, emotional, naive boy who's trying to learn to be a hero, but just ends up being cliche and quite annoying. There was a badass girl rebel fighter who's like the Saul Guerrero's type, but her outfit is so bright and just takes it out of the movie right away. They really have good stylists in Rebellion, and it's just not what you expect from rebel fighters, like in Rogue One. So there were also so much world building in this world that can potentially lead to sequels, but I fear the movie is just going to bomb so hard at the box office, competing with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman, that the box office is going to be the same as it's destroyed by the quantum weapon. Which is totally not a nuclear bomb, but what the hell. The effects are okay, but we're just used to it at this moment. The build-up of the badass cyborg remnant from war that happened before, I'm really interested by the story of the girl and the cyborg and how they grew up together than anything else going on in the movie. But why did the cyborg want to kill her? There was no explanation. And there are some guys who are called the Anti-Traction League, and they're in the east who's literally building a massive wall with thriving economy, proving that cities don't have to move, and it can just be as viable staying in the same place like all cities until now. That makes the whole premise obsolete. But hey, what am I kidding? At least the engineering still makes sense, right?